I don't know about you guys, but for me, the fear of being bad at something new has historically stopped me from doing new things. And I know that that makes me very normal because I know that a lot of us have perfectionist tendencies, and sometimes we either consciously or subconsciously stop ourselves from doing new things because we are afraid we're not going to be good at them. So today I'm going to help you work through all of these feelings and thoughts and things that kind of come up in your mind when you're thinking about starting a new hobby. And we're gonna get you started on a new hobby, or maybe going back to something that you used to do and were kind of like nervous to start trying again. Hello, my name is Grace and welcome back. If you've never been here before, usually on my channel I talk about realistic ways to live your best intentional and happy life. And recently that has been me doing a lot of decluttering and minimalist content and stuff. But a huge reason why I actually started this channel was so that I could give like advice and kind of things that have worked for me in the past to make my life more positive. So today I'll be sharing some advice that I wish I had learned a lot sooner, and maybe I can help you get to the bottom of how to bring hobbies into your life and actually enjoy them. First of all, of course, we need to define what a hobby is. So a hobby is officially defined as an activity done regularly in someone's leisure time for pleasure. Pretty much, we're just acknowledging the fact that a hobby is basically just defined as a silly little thing to do for fun. So my question is, why do we always make it so serious? So right now, I want you to think of a hobby that you've kind of been wanting to start doing and haven't yet. And I could probably guess the reason why you are too nervous to start. It's like one of 5 things. Number 1, you feel like it's just useless to even start because it's too hard, you're too old, blah, blah, blah. The second reason would be, I don't know if I'll be good at it. The third is, well, I don't have the time to start a new hobby. The fourth is, I don't have the money to start a new hobby. And the fifth is, what if I get bored of it? So in this video, I'm gonna dive into how to get past all of those concerns. So let's get into it. Addressing number 1. It feels useless to even start because I'm too old, it's too hard, it's too late for me, blah, blah, blah. I totally understand this line of thinking because I feel like it's a huge reason why people don't get started on hobbies in the first place. Probably one of the main ones. It's a classic case of imposter syndrome, or just being so overwhelmed with the amount of stuff that you have to do to get good at something that you don't even want to start. Here's a radical concept and kind of a spoiler alert for the next one, but you don't actually have to be good at your hobbies for them to be valid. But I'll get more into that in a bit. Basically, the feeling of you saying it doesn't even feel realistic for me to start something is just you sabotaging yourself. In my experience, it is almost never too late to start something new, whether that be a language or a sport or a hobby or whatever. My advice is, if you're worried about it being too hard, just take it slow. I feel like the whole point of life is to just enjoy things in the moment and try to relish the process of doing something rather than the final result. This is something that I've struggled with a lot in my life, and recently starting new hobbies and being bad at them has been so beneficial to my mental health. Something that truly changed my life was this quote by Alan Watts that one of my friends told me a couple years ago. You don't listen to a song to get to the end of it. You listen to enjoy the song as a whole. And I know that it sounds really simple and stupid, but when you actually think about it, you don't listen to a song to get to the end. The whole point is that you're enjoying the song while you're listening to it. So why don't we apply that same thing to our life? Getting back on track with the hobbies and everything, I think that the real question that you need to ask yourself is, what's the worst thing that could happen if this new activity goes wrong? Or if it doesn't go perfectly? Take a real second to think about it. And I can probably guess what you said. It would be a waste of time, money, or resources. So yes, That is very well possible, but I'm basically just making the point that it is rarely ever catastrophic that things don't go perfectly the first time when you are starting something new in terms of like a hobby or whatever. But to that I say, just take it slow and take the necessary precautions to protect yourself, and then it should be fine. I feel like I find so much joy in starting something and having so much ahead of me to learn and experience. So try to find something that interests you and just do it. Just start and see what happens and try to enjoy the process. Don't just learn a hobby to master it or be good at it. Most of the fun is honestly in the process of learning how to do something and being bad at it. Which ties directly into concern number 2, which most people have, which is, what if I'm bad at it? Unfortunately, the sad truth is, in our society, it feels very frowned upon to do things just for the simple fact that you like to do them. There is a huge cultural pressure to either immediately be good at something once you've started it, or eventually become good enough that you can become a master of it or monetize it in some way. And I feel like that is a huge reason why people just don't start things in the first place, which is why we need to normalize being bad at stuff. Genuinely ask yourself, why do I need to become good at this hobby? We defined hobby at the beginning of this video as something that you do for pleasure. It doesn't say anywhere that you had to be good at it. So if you're stopping yourself from trying something new because you might not be good at it, chances are you aren't going to be good at it at first, because most people aren't. I mean, obviously there are certain things where some people have a natural aptitude towards something and they're like slightly better than the average person, but it's like fractional. So we're pretty much all starting off at the same playing field when it comes to starting things. At the end of the day, or the beginning of the day, I guess, we all start out not knowing any languages. We don't know how to read. We don't know how to write. We don't know how to tie our shoes. We don't know how to ride a bike. We have to learn how to do all of these things, and like adulthood and responsibilities kind of rob us of our childlike carelessness, but I feel like it's one of our responsibilities as adults to kind of hold on to that in as many aspects of our life as we can. Not only is it a way to heal your inner child and reparent yourself, but honestly, having silly little hobbies that you're not good at, that you're kind of just learning how to do, it's a great way to relieve stress and get away from expectations and the perfectionist tendencies that so plague our society. Because at the end of the day, perfectionism and all that crap is just causing us anxiety. But anyways, let's move on to our next concern. I don't have the time. This is my least favorite excuse out of all of them, because chances are you actually do have the time, you're just not prioritizing it well. And I'm going to prove it to you right now. You say, oh, I don't have the time to do this, I don't have the time to do that. What is your screen time? Go check your screen time app right now and see what your average daily usage is. I'll wait. And if you're checking it now and you're saying, hey, you know, this isn't too bad, then how many hours do you spend watching TV, playing video games? Not saying that those things can't necessarily be hobbies, but finding hobbies that take you away from screens are going to be the ones that I think will more positively benefit your mental health. And at the end of the day, whatever your screen time is, I'm kind of just trying to point out the fact that we generally do have the time for things. We just don't use our time in ways that are beneficial to our mental or physical health. If you have enough time to have 4 hours of screen time, then you have 30 minutes for a silly little hobby. But I feel like nowadays the actual issue is, do you have the attention span? That is unfortunately something that TikTok and short form content has robbed us of. And to be fair, if you're watching YouTube, there is a good chance that your attention span is slightly larger than the average person that just constantly uses TikTok and Instagram as their main form of content. So what you're gonna have to do is kind of just build that up. If you're not sure that you can focus on something for a set period of time, then reduce your expectations to 0 and start doing things in like tiny little spurts. Honestly, genuinely, one of the best things I ever did for myself was creating a little, I don't even know how to describe it, like a little charcuterie board of hobbies essentially, and just having my life be a mosaic of doing silly little things that make me happy. Moving on to concern number 4. I don't have the money. It's definitely one of the most tangibly valid things on this list that you could be concerned about. However, I will still say that it doesn't hold up 100%, and let me tell you why. First of all, some hobbies are totally free as long as you have an internet connection and a device to watch a video on, which I'm going to assume that you do if you're watching this video right now. And second of all, there are ways that you can get around having to pay startup costs for certain hobbies. These are 2 free ways to start a hobby for free if it does have a certain startup cost. Join your local Buy Nothing group, and I feel like I've talked about this before, and use that to search for the items that you need to start your desired hobby. All you have to do is basically go onto Facebook and search Buy Nothing and then like your area. I will note from personal experience, New York City is extremely specific. So instead of being like Buy Nothing Manhattan, you have to be like Buy Nothing Soho or Buy Nothing Midtown or Upper West Side or Harlem or whatever. So do a little bit of research. It's gonna be on Facebook. It's gonna be Buy Nothing and then your specific area. And I have gotten and given so many things, and you don't pay a single cent. You just give your stuff away to people for free, and you can get things totally for free. And it's the best thing ever. Another way to avoid startup costs is by asking your friends and family for items as well, by either asking them for things that they don't want anymore, or maybe like one little piece of their thing if they have like a hobby like knitting needles or whatever. So if neither of these things are possible and you can't get your desired materials completely for free, there are a lot of ways to get them for reduced cost by going on secondhand websites or apps, or going to thrift stores to source your materials. That way you don't have to spend full price on something, and it's less of a sunk cost if you decide that you don't want to do the hobby anymore. So in terms of all the money stuff, yes, sometimes there is a bit of a sunk cost and that feels like a waste of money, but in the next point I'm going to explain why that's okay. So the 5th concern, what if I get bored of it? So what? This might not be an extremely popular opinion, but not everything in life is meant to last forever. I think that we can outgrow things, places, people constantly as we grow and change in life and kind of figure out what our values are, and that's totally fine. For example, do you still do all the hobbies that you used to do when you were like 7 years old? Probably not. So why do we have to keep up with hobbies or things in general that don't bring you joy? So what, you started knitting and you don't really like it that much. That's okay. You don't have to do things that no longer bring you joy. So like I said, there definitely is such a thing as sunk cost, which is like the money that you can't get back from spending whatever on the materials. But the wonderful thing about that is if you change your mind, if you get bored of the hobby, you can sell your materials, you can gift them to someone else and kind of just pay it forward and start them on their journey of doing it. Maybe they'll like it more than you. I sit firmly in the camp that if you enjoyed something for a period of time, then it was not a waste of time. It served its purpose. All I'm saying is the only thing that you have to do is explore hobbies and interests that make you happy, and then stop when they don't anymore. You only have to do something for as long as it interests you. It is such a big FU to hustle culture just to do silly little things for the fun of it. I think the most important thing to note on this point though is to really make sure you are paying attention to the difference between not enjoying something and the process of doing it versus getting frustrated that you aren't good at it yet and quitting because you have unrealistic expectations. But that kind of goes back to the other point. I will now give you some silly little fun hobbies and examples of things that I have done in my life that I have started, stopped, done for a bit, continued to do, blah, blah, blah. Pottery, dance, This has recently turned into learning K-pop dances, cooking and baking, language learning. I have learned Spanish and Mandarin, and I very, very recently started learning Korean because one of my life goals is to become a polyglot. Caring for houseplants, reading, roller skating, knitting. To be fully transparent, I have monetized a few of these at one point or another throughout my time of doing them, but I will say that every time that I did, I started enjoying it less. I found all of them utterly more enjoyable when I was doing them 100% for fun. I feel like I've said this in one or two of my other videos, but your life is your own. And having silly little meaningless things to do that bring you joy, I feel like is so important to weave into the fabric of your life, because doing things just because is such a good boost of serotonin, and it's really just great for your mental health. So give something new a try. Be boldly bad at it and see if you like it, because at the end of the day, I'm not a master potter, but I love making pottery. I think it's so fun, and it's really meaningful to me to be able to make things with my own hands and give them out as gifts. And it's also really fun to pick something up that you used to do in the past, like dancing. I'm definitely a bit out of practice with dancing, but I've danced my entire life, and now I'm trying to learn some new K-pop dances just because I want to get that muscle moving again. But anyways, I'm sure there are tons of things that I left out in this video. These are the only things that I could think of off the top of my head. So please leave any tips or other resources down in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe or like if you enjoyed today's video. It really means a lot to me, and it helps support me and this channel a lot. So until the next one, I'm sending you all my love, because we're all just trying our best out here. Bye.